Hi, I'm Reggie Ponder, the Real Critic, and this is the Real Critic Roundtable, where African American critics come to discuss, debate, and have some fun. Got my friend Katia Woods here from cupofsoulshow.com. And then I also have my friend KB here, and I wish that I could see things through the lens of Lady KB. That's where you can find her stuff. Hey, Katia, before we get started, what you're working on and where can people check out something that's, I know you're working on a lot because you ain't even had time for me this week.
And you can check all my stuff out on a cupofsoulshow.com. I'm working on a food review for an
Oh,
upcoming Netflix show, which I loved. And I'm so glad. And this was actually someone asked me to do it. And I was like, food? No problem. I'm
all
in
right.
there.
All right. Did you try the recipes? Did you get to eat some
You
food? I
know what?
mean,
I can't go into full details, but let's just say it dwells into the history of us as Black people and
all right.
how our ancestor and our journey here, our our unwanted travelage to here, ties in with American cuisine.
All right. Well, I love it. Through the lens of Lady KB, what's up, KB? What you working on?
Listen, right now you can watch my interview with Mike Epps, Kim Fields, and Wanda Sykes. I know that Katia also interviewed them as well, but they have a brand new show out on Netflix. It dropped this week called The Upshaws. So check it out. It's a new Black sitcom. So I feel like people should be watching it, supporting it. I laughed a lot. I actually really, really liked The Upshaws. So check out the show and then check out my interview right now.
All right, good stuff. All right, so we're gonna get into it. So the first movie that we have this week is the movie Spiral, and the let me say the way in which I could describe this is that it is part of the whole Saw series because the real name of the film is called Spiral from the Book of Saw, and it stars Chris Rock, it stars Samuel L. Jackson, it stars Max Magella, and it is about. I don't want to give too much up, but what I'll say is this: is that it is gory. That's what I'm gonna say. If you're looking for something that's gory, it's a thriller about these killings that are happening, and Chris Rock is a police officer having to figure out who's killing who and why are these people being killed. But each of them is in a different kind of very very gory way, and there's a puzzle to be solved here. So what's to like in this movie? Absolutely nothing. There's nothing to like. I cannot stand gore. I can't stand it. This is Reggie talking. If you like gore, this is imaginative for how they're killing off people. It shows you you get to see the blood and the stuff happening. If you like that, I'm talking about go for it. But there was nothing there that really got me. And so what? And I'm talking about what's to like, but what's not to like. They use the that whole detective versus the detective versus boss thing, which we've seen so many times. It's been played and it's played out. So there's the overbearing boss, and there's it's the brass detective, which Chris Rock plays. So that's played out. They for some reason they have a song in there that plays the N word, and it does have nothing to do with the series whatsoever. I mean, with this movie whatsoever, and it really boggles my mind. They have the gore and violence is next level grotesque. Not just gratuitous, it is grotesque. If you look at this stuff, it's gonna hurt you. And to me, the acting was really non-existent. I'm not saying that the people didn't act, but the the script doesn't matter here. It really doesn't, because it's really about the gore in this film. I did not like this. I did not like Green Eggs and Ham. I did not like it, said Sam I
That
am.
was why you're mad, Reggie.
I did not
I
like.
cannot control my face because Reggie just tore it apart.
And that's not like you, so it must have been really, really bad because Reggie's like, I ain't got nothing nice. I can't even say that the costumes are nice.
But I know why people are going to like this. So this is what I want to say: is that don't listen to me. For the people who like gore and guts and all that type of stuff, you're gonna like this. I couldn't get with it. And I think it's the genre because I talked to my friend KB and I was like, KB, you gonna watch this? And what you say, KB?
Absolutely not. You know what? I actually have never seen a Saw movie, like, period, in my entire existence on this planet. So I'm definitely not going to start. I was like, yeah, I'm not going to start now. You know, when they released this, which to be quite frank, I do feel like the marketing was like a bit late for this movie. Like all of a sudden it was just here. I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, no, thank you. And you know, I don't do horror traditionally speaking because I'm too scared. But the crazy thing is I'm kind of the opposite of Reggie in the sense that if I'm going to do a thriller, because I love thrillers, I don't mind gore, but it sounds like this gore is not the type of gore that I would need in my life. You know, for me, when it comes to horror elements, like I don't like ghosts, I don't like those types of things. But I can manage gore, but it turns out I don't even need to give this a thought top of mind, according to Reggie, because Reggie said, I didn't like the soundtrack, I didn't like the acting, I didn't like the script.
I didn't like the costumes, I didn't like the hairstyles. I didn't like nothing in this movie.
For me, it just didn't work. And I know it's a taste thing. That's how come I do want to put, this is really one of those taste movies. You know how sometimes you look at a movie and you say, well, this is good and some other people might not like it, but there will be some people who will like this. And then you might say, well, I didn't like this movie, and you know a whole lot of people are going to like it. I think that this is going to be the case here. I think that a lot of people who are looking for blood and gore, grotesque, because it's not really horror. It's supposed to be in the horror genre, but it's not as that horror kind of piece as much as it is the gore kind of piece, in my opinion. I will tell you to skip it, but I know some of you guys are going to watch it. Anyway, moving on. Katia, what we got to talk about? Oh, we got the movie, Angelina Jolie movie. Can you talk to us about the Angelina Jolie?
Those Who Wish Me Dead. There we go. I went blank for a minute too because I was like, what? This is a movie that the title kind of like misleads you into believing what it is, but basically it is Angelina Jolie plays a troubled, forced firefighter, because it's not a regular firefighter, and you know she's tackling some demons from an event that happened in her past, and she runs into a young man who lost his parents, but just recently lost his father due to his father being a forensic accountant and having discovered some things about some really powerful bad people. And those powerful bad people want that little boy because he has some knowledge. And all the people that are intertwined in the little boy's life and her life are getting caught up in the craziness. That's the best way that I can say
I think you
details.
I think you did pretty good. And so talk to me. What did you think about this one?
I had no expectations for this film. It's not earth-shattering, but it's a little bop, you know, if you have nothing to do and you know you want to escape for a couple of hours, this film will work for you. You know what I mean? It isn't, again, the acting isn't out of this world. Everybody did what they needed to do. And it's entertaining. You know, it's a roller coaster ride. There's some people in it. I will say it was nice. Nicholas Hoult, it was nice to see him play someone very unpleasant, because recently we've seen him play more comedic roles, more charming roles. But in this, you just want to throw him off the bridge. Like, he's just terrible. And then Aiden, who was Littlefinger, you know, we're used to seeing him play people that we don't like. And in this, he keeps true to form. He's not somebody we want to invite over. What I liked is that the women were not like wilting flowers. They were kick-ass. I also liked that the little boy, he was dealing with a lot, that they didn't make him snap out of it. They allowed him to be in the moment. You know what I mean? The action was good. And there was a surprise. I was surprised to see Tyler Perry, but I was like, go get your checks, Mr. Perry. I'm not mad at you. But it was overall a very, it was a fun little ride. That's the best way that I can describe it.
So my question to you is that, so I'm at Universal theme parks, and they got all the different rides. You telling me I should get on this one, or should I get to wait for another?
I would get on it because, again, to me, it's like a roller coaster that you thought was going to be scarier, but it only has 2 loops.
Okay, all right.
But you still liked it.
All right. KB, what you think about this one?
Y'all are killing me today. Okay, I will say that. Similar to Katya, actually didn't go in with any expectations, but I ended up liking it more, by the end. I think something that's interesting to me is, this is being billed as an Angelina Jolie film, like her being the lead. But really, I didn't feel like this film had a lead. I know that's a weird thing to say, but I felt like everyone had their pockets of story. And I actually kind of liked that. Like, I felt like, we had Angelina's story, as Hannah and those demons that she's struggling with. We had Connor's story as the son, and to Kathy's point, who, has lost both of his parents. We had the assassin, so Nicholas and Nicholas Hoult, yes, seeing him in a different light. I don't know that I really enjoyed it too much. I'd be like, now, Nicholas, what are we doing here? But it does show his range as an actor. But yeah, so seeing the 2 assassins was different. I like that we got John Berthenol plays Ethan, the sheriff, and his wife, who is a BA Black woman. So Medina Senghor plays Allison. And so I liked their dynamic. So I really felt like the story is intertwined, but we still got pockets of individual stories that move the narrative as well. And I was really surprised by that. So I liked it. The action was cool. It's mostly fires though. Like, if we're being transparent, it's mostly fires because she is a firefighter. So it makes sense. She is a forest firefighter. So you can expect to see some of that. But Tyler Perry was in there for 30 seconds, honey. Like, I mean, truly, like, I would not necessarily. I think total, okay, Tyler, get this check. Get this check, but he ain't really doing nothing.
It's really. You need me what for like an hour? Let me go get this little quick.
Let me go show up. And put my costume on. So but it was a good film overall. I enjoyed the ride. I feel like Katya. I feel like people. You'll like it from top to bottom. There are some twists and turns that happen throughout and some things that you do not expect. But yeah, by the end, I was like, okay, and I found myself rooting for that little boy because he had a lot of trauma.
So you like the little fires everywhere is what you're telling me.
Well, I did, yes, enjoy that actual show and in this film, yes.
All right. So here's my problem, and I think you're going to agree with me, KB. I don't know if Katya is going to agree with me on this, but I didn't care about the people until almost an hour in. It took a long time for me to care about, okay, so Angelina Jolie is having some issues and some problems, but I didn't connect to that. And so that there was, people running around. Finally, I started to care about this young boy and saying, okay, I hope nothing happens to him. But I think that they parceled out probably too much as trying to have all these little different things happening, that it really didn't at least allow me to get inside the head of the folks. As it relates to the action, I agree with you guys. I think that the action was, it was getting suspenseful. I was like, oh, okay. But will I remember this? No, I won't. So this is for me, maybe what Katya says sometimes. She's like, well, if you already got it, you might as well go and check it out. Would I go out to see this film at the theaters? I would not. And I'd be very curious, KB, would you go do that?
It's a watch it for me. I will say I disagree a little bit with you, Reggie. I cared about that little boy immediately. Like once the story came out about his father being this forensic, once the father was transparent with the son about being a forensic accountant and what that would mean for their lives, I immediately cared. But, you know, I was like, oh, okay, like I'm actually invested in at least their story. And then when they started to intertwine it, once we understand how everyone is connected, that piqued my interest too. So, you know
Okay.
what, I'm gonna tell people to watch it because, you know, like Katia just said, it's a little bop. So, you know, you just go ahead and turn it on. And so,
All right, Katia,
Definitely. I
you
mean,
you would go out to the theater and check
I
it
would,
out?
yeah, because you know what? This is the time of year where when I go make a film selection, I'm not expecting like the Forrest Gumps and that this time of year are flukes. Do you know what I mean? And you only get one or two of those in the summer. This is the time of year where we get mindless, silly stuff that's just meant to help us escape. And I definitely think with everything we've been going through, you just want to be like, oh, I'm not the only one that's going through some mess.
All
Okay.
right. All
Mm-hmm.
right. Well, okay. Wow. Wow. Okay.
I mean,
Wow.
technically, Reggie don't like nothing today. So here we
No,
are.
I must be having
Reggie's sitting there yelling at the TV like, for real? This is what
I must be having a bad week, man.
we're doing?
So all right, cool. So we're gonna go into something that KB, you called me up and said, look, Reggie, I know y'all gonna talk about the Underground Railroad, right? Right? All right, so here we go. Let's talk about the Underground Railroad. KB.
So the Underground Railroad is from The Mind. It's created by and directed by Barry Jenkins, award-winning filmmaker Barry Jenkins, and it's about a young woman named Cora who just makes an amazing discovery during her attempt to break free from enslavement in the Deep South. Yeah, I did call you. You know, I said we as Black people need to take the lead in having these conversations around this body of work. I think that's what's most important here, because we do not have to tiptoe around things. And so, you know, we can be transparent, and, you know, there's a lot of healing in art and a lot of things to be addressed in this. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that there are a lot of things to be addressed. It's difficult, though, at least for me, to talk about in its fullness because you kind of want to have to reveal some things as you talk about some specific things. So that's the thing that kills me about this. So I can't wait till people start watching it so we can really delve a little bit deeper. But we can talk about it as a project overall. And what I'll tell you is that this is one that I hope people will watch, but it is one that you will cringe at watching. I probably cringed at this more than watching a Spiral from the Book of Saw because I knew that that was just kind of crazy and out there. But when you look at this particular piece and this woman trying to be free, it stirred up a whole lot of emotions in me, and there was a lot to cringe about in this one. Katia.
I think I agree with KB, especially seeing how, you know, our counterparts want to talk about the cinematography. And I'm like, did we see the same series? I mean, don't get me wrong, that's great. The cinematography is great. The look and feel of it is great. And the acting is great, right? But how can we watch this and not talk about the elephant in the room, which is slavery? And also how we're still dealing with how certain white people that consider themselves liberal are just as harmful to us as the people that are blatantly racist. Do you know what I mean? All of that is in this series, you know what I mean? And also how people perceive us as Black people, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to give certain things away, but how Cora is constantly bumping into people that want to mold her, want to guide her away from her humanity, away from her Blackness. Even people that are like, I don't think of you as my equal, but Jesus told me that I have to help everybody. Like, you know, having to process that type of way to how someone feels about you and knowing that you kind of, your freedom depends on that. You know what I mean? But you have no other choice. Um, it shows how even how hard she fought for that little possibility. Do you know what I mean? and they had less choices than what we have today. But even just the idea of her having a say, and it's also nice. Like at first, when we meet Cora, you don't know what to make of her. Do you know what I mean? Because you're like, is she like confused? Is she still grieving from something else? Who is this young woman? And as the series goes along, she grows so much, and your respect for her grows because the things that she's dealing with and the fact that she still is fighting. Somebody else might have been like, you know what, I'm good. Like, let me just give
Well,
in.
well,
But she didn't,
it's really
you know?
interesting that you say that because it does show that her choice to fight, and it also shows some Black folks' choice not to fight, and that those decisions are so painful to watch. It showed Black people who sided with the white folks, and Black folks who despised them, or Black folks who tried to show that they were better than them. And it really gets into a lot of the issues that we are dealing with today. The Not the problem with the series, but the problem with our mentality for watching things of this nature will be because our problem is always, oh, it's about slavery, but it does a really good job of connecting a lot of the questions and a lot of the way in which we think today. It does a lot of shining so much light on that. So I'm really happy that you talk about her willingness to fight, because she had a lot of fight. What I also want to mention, go ahead, Katie.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, people will watch this, and there are often times where you do not agree with the decisions that Cora makes, right? Like there are often times that
Like,
there are some decisions that you are frustrated with because you feel like she's being very reckless. But if you think about it in the context of everything that is on Cora's shoulders during this time in life, she's literally doing the best that she can with what she has at that time. And when you start to look at it from that lens, to Katya's point, you are able to view Cora in a different light as each episode passes, and really kind of see that growth. I agree with you, Reggie. I think that there are a lot of things in this show that speak to the direct ramifications of the trauma that we've experienced as a community, and how we do things today. There are those Black people in the show who just assimilate, right? They just, in order to escape the literal and physical terrors of what they're going through, they just center their mind to do what they are told to do, no questions asked, as a form of escapism. Like, I cannot manage really actually dealing with this. I'm just going to do what I can do. So there are different types of Black people that we meet in this series, and how they deal with this ongoing trauma and this ongoing situation. To each of your points, for me, I told someone the other day that it was literally the most beautiful pieces of work I've ever seen, but the most challenging to watch, like the most challenging to get through. It definitely was not something that I could watch personally all at once. I could not binge this. I had to take breaks because it's so overwhelming. And just the amount of trauma that you're constantly seeing is overwhelming. But yeah. I do think it's important, and I do hope that people watch it, because you can tell that Barry put his heart and his soul in it, and saying that he was guided by the ancestors with it. And I did not read the book, so I don't know the differences that might exist between Colson Whitehead's like novel and this particular piece of art. But I am intrigued, and I do want to read the book now that I've kind of seen it from this lens and this perspective. But yeah, it's hard. It's real hard.
Yeah, I think it would be criminal not to talk about how Cora, the actor, and I don't even want to pronounce her name wrong, so I guess I'm gonna do it.
She's a star.
She is a star. She is a star, but it would be criminal not to talk about how good she is. What she does with her eyes, without even speaking, when she looks at people, the piercing looks, or when she looked at at one of the young men that looked like they were going to have a romantic relationship. The looks changed just from her eyes. She was fantastic. And you used the word, KB, the word beautiful. The people in this film it showed the beauty of Black people, even though we were downtrodden and beat up. It's just so many beautiful shades and hues and types of Black people. I was really taken away. I think you're right. It's beautiful, and it's also brutal though. It is brutal.
I mean, the other thing I will say, I'm sorry, KB.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
My whole thing is, it's important that we show, because we have a fraction of this country, of this world, that likes to speak about slavery and enslavement like a happenstance. You know what I mean? Our tornado is a happenstance. You know what I mean? Earthquake is a happenstance. People consciously deciding that they're better and bondaging another group of people and treating them like farm animals is something that we need to, is not a happenstance. That is an informed, that is a purpose, that is a purposeful decision. And it is insulting to me that some of our colleagues, why, as you all stated, it is stunning. That is not the centerpiece of here. Barry didn't make this because he wanted to make a beautiful cinematography. He could have meant a dozen other things. He made this because he felt as though this was an important story that we needed to see. And you know, God works in mysterious ways, because I feel like this work is coming at a time when we're having serious discussion on who gets to tell our story. And we have a fraction of people that want to still live in revisionist history, that, again, as I stated, that have a very convoluted idea of what Black people have gone through in this world, not just in this country. And it's insulting to me that you don't address these things, that you don't address the fact that you have this young woman who really doesn't have anybody in this world. Let's talk about that too. Everyone that she loves has been stolen from her. And she is, and you kind of like learn to have empathy, because who has taught her how to exist? She's had to figure out everything on her own. And it's little things like, before it doesn't give away the plot, but before she makes that decision, she brings certain things with her. Right? And it made me think of something else that I watched, and I was like, I understand why they did what they did, is because it was a tie to her heritage. It was a tie to her ancestors, and it was something that was going to give her comfort. Do you know what I mean?
For sure.
We also don't talk about religion, right? Mm-hmm. I've said this before. Black people have always believed in God, but Christianity was something that was forced upon us. And how she is holding on to a lot of the ancestors' things. Can we also talk about the young boy? That's a very, talk about uncomfortable.
So I was gonna say,
oh my God, please talk about it. I was like, what in the world?
I was trying to hold off to say what he does, but go ahead.
I'm not gonna say what, but still, you like, come on now.
There's a lot of things, yeah. And in the spirituality aspect, you know, there is one part. It's not gonna give it away, but let's just say a white person does something to her in the name of Jesus, and her response, the way she wipes it off, yeah. I said, that is exactly it. She's like, you are in this series, the white people are torturing them. And now you try to tell me in the name of Jesus. It's just Cora's response even to that, even though, to your point, Katia, she's alone and she doesn't know. She knows that's not right. You know what I mean? Like she may not have a knowledge of a lot of things, but she knows that like God would not allow this white person to torture her. And then also,
I talked about this in my review, how people use religion, specifically
to hide behind their actions,
to justify all types of foolery, inhumanity against other inhumanity. And the context always has been that we are uncivilized, that we were out here in the world like nomads and we have no spiritual grounding. And I'm glad that Barry tackled this, because I'm always like, especially being from Brazil, I'm like, we've always had spirituality. We just didn't have your version or your ideology of what you deem to be appropriate. And, it's like I said, I know exactly what you're talking about. And she's like, no.
Yeah, she knows
No,
that. She knows it doesn't
you're a
work.
person of God,
Right.
but you're not.
So,
right.
wait,
I will say too, we would be remiss if we didn't talk about the Black love component, because I also think that like it's very important in this particular body of work. Yes, we have dealt with severe trauma, but also in the midst of everything that was going on, I appreciate that Korra has pockets of opportunity to be surrounded by love. And so, it just, it's just
that look that you got. That look that you got is the look. I mean, it does warm the heart to know that there was still hope, there was still love, there was still possibility,
dreaming,
despite the situations that these people found themselves in. And when you say love, I am so glad that you said be surrounded by love, because there was the romantic love that there was some opportunities for, but then there was just the love of our people, and that came through so clear. This Underground Railroad, in terms of the imagination of what that railroad looked like, also is really interesting. It's not that what I will tell you without giving it away is not the Harriet Tubman Railroad that you would think in your mind. So they were very imaginative in what they did here. This is a must watch. We will come back and talk about it more after you guys have some time to watch it, but this is actually a must watch. I am glad that KB said not to binge on it. She did not tell me that, so I had to do that just to catch up. And it is tough to binge watch it, but this is a must watch, and I think you should check it out. KB, your thoughts?
I mean, you already know I'm going to say it's definitely a must watch. We didn't get into the little boy Homer, but he in and of himself is just represents so much. And so I think that Barry did a great job of representing the different types of people and our different types of struggles and the different choices and the different sacrifices and how love looks and through various lenses. And also, tackling abandonment, because it is that is something that we have to be very transparent about during this time. And, kind of in the face of unsurmountable odds, having to make a choice that you should never have to make, but you end up doing it. And so I think you would be remiss if you did not watch this at all. I mean, you would miss out on a lot.
Yeah,
not only history, but this. Yeah,
there's so many issues, because you talk about abandonment. You have these issues of basically Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, or Marcus Garvey. I mean,
yes, all of it. We didn't even talk about the Black wealth component either, though. Like, we didn't even talk about up and coming neighborhoods like Greenwood, and we didn't even talk about that. I mean, there are so many layers, and I can honestly say no one but Barry could have done it.
There's so many layers. Go ahead, Kathy.
Motherhood is a component.
Oh, big component.
I'm thinking to myself, well, you don't really have, your heart breaks for some of these women. Do you know what I mean?
For all of them, actually.
Despair.
Every last one of them.
And you know what I mean? The despair in your heart. As a mom, I'm just like, even like how they were going through pregnancy and everything. It's just like, that's why the Black people are magic. The stuff we have survived, and people have the audacity, like the unmitigated gall to say, that we aren't smart, we aren't strong, or whatever other foolery of the day you want.
What you crying about? What you
crying
about? Right.
Again,
right.
You know what I mean? Like, we really are our ancestors' biggest dream. And I agree with all of you. I kind of like, once I started watching it, I was like, I cannot watch this in one sitting. I got to take a break. especially like after the first episode, I was like, ooh, am I going to see a lot of things like that? But I trust Barry. So I was like, okay, we're going to push through. Do you know what I mean? I also thought about like, would you watch this? I think if you can have your kids watch it, but I would like stop after the episode and then decompose, like talk about it. You can process the feelings, because as a young person, you getting kind of like a visual of what you've read.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it really makes you feel differently about yourself and about the people we cohabit space with. But again, this is, and to Reggie's point, I sincerely hope this is my fandom, and you guys can chime in. I need us as Black people to stop counting things out based on previews or because your neighbor or your sister or your cousin. God gave us each a brain, an individual brain, for a reason, for you to make up your own mind. And I know that people were disappointed in some of this other work, but that was that. You know what I mean? It's like when you date, you can't judge your new boyfriend by your past boyfriends. This is the same thing. What they did was on them. This is a new thing. Give this a chance. And definitely I will break it out. We'll watch like 2 episodes, decompose, and then maybe another day watch 2 more episodes. But I'm interested to see what the community will say. I definitely want to hear from Black women. You know, Reggie, I appreciate you always making a way for me and KB and other women, but it is super disappointing that we are now on our Lord 514, and there are 2 reviews out by Black women on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm one of them. Aramide is the other one. Yeah. What in the name of Black Jesus is going on with some of these editors? And also, you know, we should talk about this one time on the show, not today because we don't have the time. But what is it? Not all, but certain white male critics that feel as though they should be leading the discussion on freaking everything. And then you don't even, since you chose to take on this work, you don't even have the courage to dwell into some of the things that you are seeing. You choose, as I like to say, to talk about the gowns. So you wasted a whole opportunity to speak intelligently about a piece of work. Could you imagine watching Schindler's List and dedicating your entire review to the cinematography and the acting and avoiding the fact that people were getting killed? Like the scene where he shoots the little boy and you don't address any of that. That's what we're getting here. And this is why it's important, as KB said, we must lead the discussion on this.
Well, this is not the end of the discussion on this, because we will be talking about it more, because we actually want to get into some of the details, because there are some real nuances and things that Barry brings out in this particular piece of work. So don't think it's over. We're just trying to be nice to you guys. I just want to say, as the last word is, you will have to push through that first episode, as Katia said. See the first episode, try to watch the first 2 episodes and then make your decision if you continue. I hope that you'll continue all the way over through 10 episodes. All right, now it's time to get some quick hits. I had to bring this in because KB, you talk about, you know, you're in the comic book world. We got the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It is number one in Nielsen streaming rankings. Thoughts?
Listen, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and I can say this because if you check out my show on Wednesdays, Super Lady Hero Hour, you know I was not a fan of this series at all. So it is very surprising to me that it has the highest ratings. I just felt like the action was fantastic. That's not the problem. I don't even think the action, not the problem. The acting actually even wasn't the problem for me. It was the scripts and the story and the discontinuity and we're gonna bill it as something about race, but then tiptoe around race and then not actually address race. So it just was not for me. So I am surprised that it was so high. But I mean, I'm also on the flip side, not surprised that it's so high because it is Marvel, you know, it is Disney, you know, they are heavy hitters. But ultimately, I'm still asking myself, y'all, what was the point of that series? And how did it tie into phase 4? So,
all right, Katia, thoughts?
I'm not surprised. This is, you know why? Because it goes across color, it goes across gender, sexuality, and religion. Marvel has a built-in audience. So you're already going to get guaranteed people to watch it because it's Marvel, right? And then you add in Sebastian Stan fans, Anthony Mackie fans, and then the list goes on and on. So you were going to get people like KBC. Not everybody probably didn't like it, but they watched it because of X, Y, and Z. Do you know what I mean? And it kind of lets Disney know we're going to continue making shows like this because number one, it's guaranteed viewing and it's going to keep our subscribers and we're going to increase our subscribers. So I'm not surprised by this at all. Excuse me.
All right. So number 2 on the list is them. Again, them is number 2 on the list. They and it's only they're the only 2, meaning the Falcon and the Winter Soldier and them, the only 2 non-Netflix streaming shows that made it to the top 10. So again, just mentioning real quick that them is resonating.
Controversy self. And again, as much as Black people were complaining about it, I'm like, y'all watched. Stop playing around. You did. You may not want to admit it, but your butt tuned in. And also non-Black people tuned in because we're only 12% of the population. So they probably were like, wow, the Black people upset. Let us go see what it is. And also just like with Annabelle, we might have been like, what in the world? A lot of Black people like that film. I know.
No, that's good.
I do think that like social media discourse though will push projects into additional views and streaming. So there was a lot of social media conversation around them. And I think that just piqued people's interest. And they also were like, okay, well then what is this about? So, I mean, not surprised at all.
All right, moving on to the next thing. I mean, this is not about the movies, but because we do talk about Black stuff, Ellen DeGeneres is saying, hey, goodbye to her show. I believe that it's not what Ellen says. Is Ellen saying, hey, I'm kind of tired. I got to go off and do something else. But her contract is coming up. And she did say before she signed a 3-year contract that, she was thinking about doing something else. But what are you guys' thoughts on that?
I thought she wanted to be done a long time ago, if I'm being honest. And I just think the latest controversy surrounding her, what was that, early last year? Time has no meaning to me, but I believe it was earlier last year, or maybe it was the summer. But I think that just put some things in perspective. I know that I have heard that they are considering Tiffany Haddish as a daytime talk show host. Katya, please, you're really about to send me with what just happened with your face. So please. So I've heard that they're considering her. I don't know. I mean, I do feel like in this coveted time slot, right, that I do feel like they'll go in direction of putting a Black or brown person in that time slot.
Got you.
Well, Ellen, we knew it was going to be the end because she was running a freaking Southeast Asian sweatshop environment. You know what I mean? And I'm sorry, if a show bears your name, you have a responsibility to know what is going on. This idea I didn't know is still like mind-boggling to me. Like, how do you not know what is going on in a business that bears your name?
Yeah,
and,
no.
And also my issue, like I really felt some type of way about Alan when the whole Kevin Hart thing was going along. And I'm like, you're not the people that he offended. He offended Black and brown LGBTQ plus people. How dare you speak for them? So I was done with Ellen when she gave that Potter Puff interview with him. And I was like, really, sis, that's what you're doing? Then moving on, it's just the show is played out. It just is. Now, here's my thing with Tiffany Haddish. God bless her, and she's getting her checks. But Tiffany is not a good, first of all, she don't say people's names right and thinks that's cute, which it's not. She's not the most, why she is interesting, I, in my opinion, don't feel she has the skill set to be a good interviewer and basically would be tuning in for the train wreck. But I agree with KB. That space should be filled by a person of color. Why? And I was just thinking, like, fill it with an Asian host. Have we had an Asian talk show host? Do you know what I mean? I mean, go in a direction that's completely different and give someone else
a chance. Yeah. I feel it. All right. So we had a whole lot of other things on the plate today. I wanted to talk, but we're not going to get to it. I wanted to talk about the new Cleopatra Jones joint. I wanted to talk a little bit about what the CW is doing, but we're not going to do that. I'm just going to go to I'm going to skip to this thing of, we talked about Regina King last week being maybe one of the people who could step in and do some of this comic stuff, so to speak. So here we learned that Regina King is to direct Ryan Coogler's produced Harlem Renaissance fantasy film Bitter Root. I already know that both of you guys know about this. Thoughts.
I'm excited. Listen, we were just, again, to your point, talking about having Regina direct a comic book franchise film. This is exactly what it is. Bitter Root is a comic from Image Comics. And so I am excited to see kind of what they do with it. And, I think she is also producing with her sister as well, if I remember correctly. So I am looking forward to this kind of trio of producers and then Regina at the helm. And I don't know that they have a writer yet. So it will be interesting to see who they bring on board to pen the script and, who they cast. I hope, again, y'all know I'm always a proponent of relative unknowns. And so I do hope that we get a lot of that when it comes to casting.
Katya.
Echo what KB said. We were all trying to get sis a job. Meanwhile, she lined it up already. Good for her. And I'm intrigued because I think this is something we haven't had, or if we had, it wasn't done well. And my only thing is, I hope she gets the budget, the money to ball out and bring the visual effect. And once again, kudos to Ryan Coogler, who's using his stance, his position to back Black filmmakers. Because Ryan could have been like, I'm over here minding my business working on this Black Panther too. You work it out. But he is really putting his name, and I love what he did with Creed, where he was like, okay, I had my shot. Let me move over here as a producer. And to KB's words, give someone else. I wish more Black people in Hollywood or Black people that want to be in Hollywood would do that.
Oh, excellent. So last segment is the best thing I saw. And look, we saw a lot of stuff this week. So when we talk about those things, I can't put that on the best thing I saw list. So don't be saying, Reggie, the Underground Railroad wasn't the best thing you saw. Okay, the Underground Railroad was the best thing I saw. But the best thing I saw with my child, Carrie, was two things. Number one is that she graduated on Monday. Yay, yay, yay. Graduated from California College of the Arts. Very, very proud. So Carrie got me into watching this thing called a Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous. And I couldn't stop. I watched like 4 episodes with her. It was fun. It was well done. And it made me think that this is so smart because it's great for Universal Studios, because of Jurassic World. So now you'll watch this on wherever you're watching it, and then you go off to say, I gotta go to the actual theme park and have some fun. So just smart from a marketing standpoint, and it was actually fun for me to watch it with Carrie. KB, best thing you saw this week?
Well, actually, the best thing I did see was the Underground Railroad. But I have to also shout out the finale of Married at First Sight. Listen, it is one of my guilty go-to pleasures, and they give me what I need. And so, yes, the finale, I can't wait until next week when we figure out where the couples are now. I'm still perplexed about how that they are shooting this show in the middle of a pandemic, because literally no seasons have dropped the ball and the pandemic is still going. And yet they're still allowing people to get married at first sight. So I'm confused about how they're doing that production. But here we are. So
here we are. Last thing, Katya, best thing you saw this week?
Going to say The Circle. That's my guilty pleasure. We like dumb people. We saying that, no, don't do this. Don't say that. Oh, no, get rid of him. Oh, I knew he wasn't going to make it. You know what I mean? That really, like, Netflix has, and the thing is, you have different connotations from different countries, which I love. Like, especially like in the Brazilian one, we're like Circle. Catarina and I do the Brazilian versions of what the Portuguese version of what they're saying. It is silly, It is foolery at all counts, but boy, is it fun.
It really is. I enjoyed it too, and I enjoyed the last 3 episodes. That's all I can say. All right, that's it, you guys. I'm Reggie Ponder. This is the Real Critic Roundtable, where African American critics come to discuss, debate, and have some fun. That is Katia Woods at cupofsoulshow.com, and that is KB, and it's through the lens of Lady KB. There you go. I will see you guys next time.
See you next week.
Thanks.